Yay!
There we go.
There we go.
I don't
Much
know how
better.
to use this. I had to click to show my face, but here we are.
I know, welcome. I'm so excited that you it's so funny you brought it up and then literally within a couple hours you're at 1,000.
Yeah, yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's
It
like
happened really fast. So
that's
yeah, glad
amazing.
it worked out.
I know, me it's well welcome. So, for people kind of still joining on, I didn't schedule this. You know, we'll watch the watch. But so we're having a Coco Berthmann. Um, and we're here with Amanda.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Um, we're here with stuff set up here. I'm chatting with Energy Healing with Amanda. That is her TikTok handle. Who actually has personal experience. I just did a story about her. So if you know that about her, she has a lot of experience. Um, I'm so excited to hear. You wanted to talk. You're willing to chat.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, my husband's being really loud playing games next door. So if it's too loud and you can hear it, then tell me and I'll go tell him to be quiet.
It's all
Um,
good. What kind of
yeah,
games?
yeah, I used to be really close friends with her, and then she announced that she had cancer and got arrested for communications fraud. So that was a wild start to my year.
That's insane. So, how did you meet Coco?
I met her, I was working at an ice cream shop, and she gave a presentation at the owner's daughter's high school. And so the daughters come home and tell their parents about it, and they are like, wow, that's amazing. And started inviting her into the ice cream shop. They got the local newspaper to do a story on her and stuff. And so I just worked at the ice cream shop and she would come in all the time. We started chatting and like followed each other on Instagram. And yeah, that's how that happened.
It's amazing, right? So, what was your impression of her when you first met her?
Very confident, very sure of herself. Yeah, like just a solid person, which is very interesting.
Yeah, totally. Um, so what is she like? Like, how would you in like 3 words, how would you describe her? Like solid, confident. We
Well,
have
she's a very different person in different situations. So
yeah,
like her persona online, excuse me, was very different than what she was like in real life. She's 28 years old, but my husband always said that she acts like she's 15.
how old is
So
she?
just like she's 28, but she
28.
acts like a 15-year-old.
Oh,
Um, like just not very like she's emotionally mature when she wants to be. So like if there's adults around or people who think highly of her, then she will act very um I don't know, very confident, sure of herself, that kind of thing. And then when she was like chill with me and my husband or other friends, it was like just really silly and fun and like just like completely different versions of her depending on who you talk to. So
yeah. Honestly, most of the stories I make are about people who have like alternate personas on social media, so that is not super surprising to me. Um, So would you say that she acted like a 15-year-old in like a negative way ever? Like were you were like what's
yes, yeah, she was kind of difficult to be around. Like I know that like we were really really good friends. I really cared about her, but also I did have a lot of issues with our relationship. I had to set a lot of boundaries with her and she was just hard to be around because she just needed so much all the time, so much attention, so much time, so much everything, and it was just overwhelming and like I couldn't handle it, and so yeah, I had to set a lot of boundaries with her. She was just exhausting to be around. So yeah.
I've experienced I've experienced somebody like that before, and it's almost like intoxicating because they make you feel like you're the center of the universe, and you're like, oh wow, it's this amazing special friendship, and like I have like a person, how cool. But then yeah, it gets like it crosses a line, and it's such an energy suck. I get it. So did she ever tell you about, how open was she, if at all, about her experiences?
Um, with like trafficking and stuff.
Yeah, like, or with really anything. Because if you all don't know, Coco Berthmann, can you just give us kind of an intro, like so I did a story about Coco Berthmann. If you have not watched it, go watch it. It kind of goes over everything, but I'm gonna let Amanda, if you don't mind, if you could just tell us a little bit about who Coco is and the things that kind of gave her notoriety, and what why she was arrested for communications fraud. It's a very,
Oh,
it's like it's a mouthful. It is two scoops of like of of
oh, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so funny to me now.
what can you do? I
Um,
mean, if you can't laugh, like it's just so
literally, like I will be screaming my head off if I'm not laughing.
right. So, but Amanda,
Um,
please, way, tell us a little bit about Coco.
yeah, so obviously when I met her, I immediately knew about her platform and her story, and she had told her story. Harper, my dog is crying. Stop crying, baby.
Oh, we
Um,
love.
she had told her story on so many different platforms, right? The newspaper, multiple different podcasts. Chris Hansen had her as a guest, like all of this stuff. And so, like, I had watched a lot of those and like listened to a lot of those podcasts and stuff. So I knew like every detail of her story that
So,
she had shared.
what did you know about her platform? Just in case people were
Um,
watching.
Yes, yes. So Coco claimed to be a human trafficking survivor. She was born and raised in Germany and escaped trafficking at age 15. And then it was like 2015 or 2016, she came here to the US to be a nanny in New York. And then she had to go back to Germany for a little bit. And then she came back here in like 2018, I think. And she's been here ever since. Um, so once she came here back again in 2018, she moved to like Las Vegas, I think, and then she came here to Utah. And that's where she started talking a lot more about her human trafficking experience. Um, so again, I met her in 2019. So she had been here for a year or so. I don't exactly know. Um, and yeah, she would give presentations at schools talking about like signs of human trafficking and telling her story and whatnot. But yeah, basically, she claimed that her mom trafficked her and her siblings.
Mhm.
She claimed that her older sister was murdered in front of her. Her younger brother, she's told multiple different versions of that story. Like one of them, like I was told that he committed suicide, but there's another version of the story where she was helping murder him. He's still alive. He was never murdered. And the sister that she claims was murdered, because she said she had two older sisters, she only has one. And so the sister that was supposedly murdered never existed. Um, yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
So that was her platform. So you knew about her
Right.
platform when you started following her. Then you became friends. Then what?
Mhm. We become friends. We hung out all the time. She would call me at least once a day. Again, it was just like such an overwhelming relationship for me. It was just a lot. Um, so me and my husband have an unfinished basement, and we've always wanted to turn it into some kind of like little living space. Obviously, since it doesn't have a separate entrance, we could only rent to close friends and family. And Coco was looking for a place to live. This was last summer, I think. Um, and so we were like, oh, well, maybe Coco could live in our basement. And we kept talking about it, and I was like, I don't know about that. I like she's a
Yeah,
lot for me to be
that's
around.
that's a big step in any relationship. Like living with somebody. People break
Right.
up I mean, I've lost friends because of that. It's like it's something totally
Yeah,
different.
I
Live
was
with.
like, this is especially because she had, I knew about her patterns, right? I knew about all of these families that she had previously lived with. Some big drama happened and she had to find somewhere else to live. Like every single
Really?
time, over and over and over. Yeah, and there were also patterns with friends that she would be really close to, and then all of a sudden she would just like block them and completely cut them from her life. And like I never really knew what happened in any of those situations. Now I know that she got caught in her lie, they confronted her, and she didn't like that, and so she blocked them out of her life.
Mm.
So I was worried about that happening. I was like, I know that if we let her live in our basement, that's going to lead to the end of the relationship. Like, it's not going to go well because I've
Right?
seen this happen so many times.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Eventually, we got the bid back, and it was way too expensive. So we were like, sorry, you're going to have to find somewhere else to live. We don't have the money to finish our basement right now. And so
Hmm.
she was like, oh, okay. And she gets an apartment 3 minutes away from me
Okay.
so that she could still be close and we could hang out. So I think she moved into that apartment probably like last August or September. Um, I think August. And so again, she was very close. We would take our dogs on walks together all the time. We spent a lot of time together. Um, And the whole time that I knew her, she had always had these weird like health issues. She told me she had POTS, so she would like faint. I never saw any of that happen. Um, but she did like faint and have seizures, fake seizures in front of other people, um, stuff
Did you
like that. Where it was, what was that?
did you ever see a seizure?
I didn't, but I've spoken to other people who like witnessed her having a seizure and they were like, that's fake. You're faking it. Like that is not a real, that's not real. People actually struggle with that kind of thing. And like, what are you doing?
This is a whole
Um,
act that I was not even aware of.
yes, a lot of like every little thing that happened, she was like, oh, I need to go to the emergency room. I need to go to whatever, like urgent care. And I was just like, no, you don't. Like, it's not that is, I don't know. I don't want to be invalidating, but like, you have a stomach ache.
Right.
It's going to be okay, right?
Mhm.
But
Right.
every little thing that happened was the biggest emergency. Right before she announced her cancer, she called me. Actually, she texted me, and the text just said 911. This was back in January. And I was
Okay.
like, what?
Mhm.
So then she calls me and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I just got in a car accident. I'm like, oh no. I don't know what to do. I'm not at home. And she's like, well, my tire's flat. Like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, well, call my husband. He's at home. He can go help you. So my husband goes and helps her. And then when I get home, I'm like, hey, like, what happened? Is she okay? Is her car okay? What's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, she just, like, someone cut her off and she hit the curb and got a flat tire. And I
Okay.
was so mad because I was like, you don't get to, like, suck me into your drama like that by
Right.
texting me 911. Like, that's not funny. That's not like you were physically fine. Your car was fine. You had a flat tire and you're telling me I got in a car accident. I'm super not doing well. I don't know what to do, blah blah blah. And I was like, that's not okay. That's not okay to do that to me.
That sounds like a lot like something like a 15-year-old would do, to be honest. Like I cannot deal with this.
Right.
Put it on you because I do not want
Yes.
this is now yours. And I want
Yes. And I right. And I even talked to her about that. I was like, "Hey,
yeah,
um I understand that that was probably really scary and stressful for you, but when you like throw it onto me like that, I can't help you, and that's not fair. That's not how healthy adult relationships work. Like just everything, like Emmy just commented, every other post Coco made on Instagram was a complete emergency, always in crisis mode. It's so true. And she even made a post about this car accident that she got in that wasn't a car
yeah.
accident. She literally got a flat tire and freaked out over it.
I'm not
It
shocked.
was just so annoying, like so exhausting and so much all the time. And I was like, I cannot help you. I'm not your mom. I'm not a parent. I'm a person. I'm your friend. Like this is not how this relationship works.
Yeah.
Um, so that was right before she announced that she had cancer. It was like a couple weeks later, that she's like, and
So
she
when
told, what was that?
no, keep going. I want to hear.
So that car accident incident happened like mid-January, I think, and then um, like a week later, she told some of us in her close circle that she was having a lot of health issues, that she was getting some tests done and a biopsy and blah, blah, blah. And she even made an Instagram post saying, like, cancer's on the table. I don't know what's going to happen. Um, and then my dog's crying again.
Oh,
Um, and then, yeah, she texted us and said the results came back. It's mantle cell lymphoma, stage 3 cancer. I probably have like 1 to 3 years left, 2 to 5 if I do chemo, but I don't want to do chemo. Um, Basically saying all this stuff like she told me like I'm gonna do alternative healing with
hmm.
this. I don't want to do chemo. And I was like, you're an idiot, but okay.
Like you're
Like,
young. The odds of like you having a really positive outcome doing chemo are really positive, you know? And lymphoma,
right,
have you ever seen that oh, there's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where they're like it's the good cancer, like the lymphoma. It's just lymphoma is like it's not necessarily there are usually a pretty good prognosis with. I've known 3 people personally who have had lymphoma, and
right.
they've made a full recovery and are living really healthy lives. So, so when you heard that she had cancer, like what initially went through your mind?
It was so complicated because,
Yeah.
like I said, I've been having all of these issues with her. I was getting exhausted. I was trying to take a step back from the relationship and set a lot of boundaries. And then she has cancer, and I'm like, well, now what? Now I have to keep being her friend. I have to support her. She needs me.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it was, and I started just having all these really complicated feelings of like, oh my gosh, my good friend might die. But also, if she was not in my life, there would be so much less drama. It would be a lot more peaceful. And so it was like, and I felt like a horrible person for thinking that, right? Like it was so complicated and so like just weighed so heavily on me. Like, oh my gosh, this is just a lot. Like,
I don't think that makes you a bad person, you know?
yeah,
I would, do you believe her? Did any part of you doubt the
no,
diagnosis?
I fully believed that she had cancer because, again, I had seen her, like Emmy commented again, Emmy knows everything. The cancer she claimed also can lie dormant and not need treatment for years. So, the time that I knew Coco, it was like 2020 that she started having all these weird health issues. And so it was like, oh, this explains everything, right? This is
Sure.
why. So, yeah, I fully believed that she had cancer.
So yeah, I would explain like the seizures and the fainting and okay, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so she has cancer. She decides that she doesn't want to do chemo. Um, so where does the GoFundMe come in?
So, yeah, so she's like, I'm not doing chemo. I'm gonna heal this with a raw vegan diet. And I was like,
I have
okay,
literally, I've literally like done like 2 or 3 stories where people do exactly that, and they don't. They fake cancer, and they're like, nope, going vegan, and that is the cure.
watch this, guys. Yeah. No, my sister-in-law sent me your video on Belle Gibson like a month ago, and I was like, wow, that is crazy how similar that is to Coco. Like, it's like they're all following the same script. It's so bizarre.
I know. Like, how does this keep happening? And
Right.
you would be shocked. You would be shocked how many people have faked cancer in America for clout. It is,
It's
I mean,
so weird.
cause it is just why is this the route you have decided to go
Like
down?
go to therapy. I don't know.
This is a bad thing because what? Well, because there's so many patient laws, you don't have to prove it to anybody. No
Yeah,
one's gonna no one's gonna say no, you fucking don't, and
right.
and then they're like, no, it is.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm chronically ill. I have to deal with it, and I've just like I've said this a few times before, but the reason I like to cover these stories is because it takes a lot of effort to choose life and to choose health. It's really, you don't want misery to be your brand,
Right.
have to
It's
balance it.
yeah.
You have,
She
especially
totally
if
did want like
yeah, if you're an
yeah.
influencer, it's really important because people tune in and then they get their fix of, misery and commiseration, and they feel better, and they feel validated, and they're feel their misery and feeling terrible. And I just think that there's a big part, if you have a platform, to promote well-being, and then to find out that people are fucking faking it is infuriating. I feel like evil
Yeah.
is a spectrum, and I feel like that is on there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also am chronically ill, and
Hmm.
Coco was doing these raw vegan diets on and off. I never saw any evidence of her actually eating raw vegan, but she always said that she was. She would post it like on her Instagram story, like, I'm having this smoothie bowl for breakfast type thing. Um, and she would
Fucking
always
smoothie.
tell me, like, I know, I would always say, like if I said anything about my chronic illness, she would say, oh, you just need to do a raw vegan diet. And I was like, no, no, that's not gonna fix it. That's not how this works, ma'am.
Smoothie bowls fix everything. Apparently, they always.
Well, I've been missing out.
I I know. That's
Anyway,
really. I'd be really annoyed if someone said,
I was. And I said that to her so many times, like, no, no, I've found treatment that is working for me through Western medicine, and I'm an energy healer, okay? Like,
right.
I'm very much into holistic healing, but even I draw the line somewhere, okay? Like everyone do what works for them. Don't push your crap on me. I'm not doing a raw vegan diet. That's no, that's not for me.
No, and I
And
think that that's the perspective to have, is that it's moderation and picking and choosing what works for you, and trying not to be too extreme to one uh
yeah,
idealist or ideology. Thank you.
right.
Okay, so you she told you to have a smoothie bowl, and
Yeah,
then she
pretty
was
much.
for cancer with a raw vegan diet.
Yes.
Okay.
So then, and I was with her when they were setting up the GoFundMe. I was at her apartment, just hanging out, spending time with her. And then her friend calls her. It's a friend that she used to live with. So another one of these mother figures
Oh.
that she took advantage of, moved into their house, took their time, their money, their well-being. But this one, they stayed in contact, I guess. Um, so this woman calls her, and I'm there. The phone is on speakerphone, and she's like, "Hey, we're thinking about setting up a GoFundMe for you. Like, what dollar amount do you think would be good? What picture do you want to use? Stuff like that." And Coco was like so resistant to it. Um,
Oh.
she was like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't need that." And they're like, "Okay, but how are you going to pay for these alternative cancer treatments? There's no way. Like, you don't have the money for that." And so finally she was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." So they start the GoFundMe, and what was it? Like, I think the goal was 100,000, and it raised almost 10,000 before it got shut down. But so the timeline of how that happened, so she announces she has cancer. A day or so later, they start the GoFundMe. And then about a week later, she gets a call from a detective saying, "Hey, someone put in an anonymous tip to the police that you don't have cancer, you're lying about having cancer, and that you are lying about ever having been human trafficked. So you're going to have to like give medical records or something to prove that, you know, you do have cancer." And Coco's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I'll email them to you later this week. And then never does because she doesn't have any medical records, right?
Right.
But my side of that story is she was just so angry that she was being investigated. And I thought it was kind of weird because she kept saying things like, this is why survivors never come forward. This is why, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, but like, just show your medical records
Yeah.
and this all
Yeah.
goes away. Like, this is
Yeah.
a really, really simple fix. And
Right.
it's also ironic that she would say things like, and a lot of us, her friends even said this to her, like, this isn't about not being believed, right? Like you keep saying this is why survivors never come forward, but this isn't about that. This is about something that is very easily verifiable,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So just fix it and
Yep.
it's done. Super easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she was super upset. She got really suicidal um, during that week and just freaked out. And we were like, okay, but just fix it. Like, just show your medical records.
Yeah.
Um, So then, about a week after that, I had sent her a Marco Polo that morning and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And she responds, hey, I'm doing good. I think that you were right and that I should keep my options open. So I'm actually on my way to my first chemo appointment right now. And I was like, oh, okay. But two things, she was in the car alone, which with a lot of chemo treatments, you have to have someone to drive you home afterwards because you are
Sure.
very, very ill.
Yeah.
Um, but she was in the car alone. And so, yeah, she's like, I'm on my way to chemo. If you want to hang out later, I would love to do that, but I also might be feeling really sick. So we'll see what happens. And I was like, okay, just keep me posted. Then the next thing I hear is that she got arrested. And I was like, wait, wait, but
Wow.
wait.
How soon
It
after
was,
like no appointment?
well, the chemo appointment obviously
Well,
wasn't real. Right. I think it
the-
was, so I sent her that message probably like 8:30 in the morning. And then I think it was around like 2 or 3
oh,
p.m. that I got a text that she had been
that's
arrested.
yeah. So in
Yeah.
the that they launched the investigation and like the detective called to her arrest, it was only like a matter of days.
Yeah, it was about a week.
Wow. I thought it was a lot longer for some reason.
No. Yeah, it was a very, very swift descent because like between announcing she had cancer and getting arrested was only about 2 weeks. Like a little bit more than 2 weeks, but still, like it's
Just getting
very
to
quick.
Maz. I like that comment. That's interesting. So, had she ever been like diagnosed with anything? Like she said that she had, I mean, human trafficking. I mean, part of the reason why she gained such a big platform was because she was so open and candid and kind of raw about her inner explanations and her experiences. I mean, she was like no bullshit, tells it like it is, doesn't really care if anybody gets upset because she's like, this is what I've been through and this is the reality. I think that's what was
Mhm.
so powerful. Um, but had she been, had she ever been diagnosed with anything like with PTSD or depression or anything as a result of her experiences?
So in her police report, it talks about how the only medication she was on was for anxiety. So I'm guessing
Okay.
she had been diagnosed with anxiety. I've heard previously that she has been diagnosed with BPD.
That
Um,
that I'm not surprised.
yeah, and then my therapist, again, this is not a diagnosis because my therapist would have to meet her and evaluate her and everything. But my therapist, when I told her about all of this, said it also sounds like histrionic personality disorder. And when I read up on that, I was like, yes, yes, that is exactly what's going on here because histrionic talks about like they get super uncomfortable if they're not the center of attention. They're pretty like sexually promiscuous. They just like all of like literally every single box. I was like, yep, 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 yep. Oh my gosh. Like, and so all of I just started to realize like all these things that I just thought were like quirky little things, probably from trauma, are like an
Mental.
actual mental disorder. Like there is something going on here.
Oh, 100%. You know what's funny is that those are the two diagnoses that Amber Heard was diagnosed with.
Yes, that whole trial has been honestly very triggering for me because
I
like
get
Amber Heard is so similar to Coco. I'm just watching it like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I hate this. Oh my gosh. Like this is like Coco's trial. Her court date is in a couple weeks actually. Or I guess more like 3 weeks. And
Are
like
you gonna go?
that's what's going to happen. I want to. I'm trying to figure out like the like do I have to get permission or do I just show up or like I don't know. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But I would like to go if I can. So yeah, I'm like, yikes.
I
Big
think
yikes.
I think part of the allure with the Amber Heard, especially, this is kind of like a side a diatribe, but like I think part of the fascination with this, I mean, A, it's Johnny Depp, but B, I think people are always so surprised when they see that there are people that are capable of such profound lies.
Yes.
It's like, how could you possibly live with yourself, or how could you possibly do that? Like, because you're this is such a huge lie, you're gonna get found out, you know or
Right.
like um
Well, and like
I
I said, like there were definitely red flags in our relationship that I saw and I was aware of, but I
yeah,
never ever thought it was to this extent. Like this is wild.
I want to know more about that. So had she ever lied to you about like little things, like about seeing a movie that she hadn't seen or something?
Yeah, there were definitely like a couple weird things. And I didn't confront her about very many of them. But like her Instagram photos, like they were very, very heavily edited. Or if it was like from behind, like it wasn't a picture of her. And I was like, and I kind of questioned that, like, that doesn't, I don't think that's her. That doesn't look like her. Or like she posted a dance video on Facebook that wasn't her, and everyone in the comments is like, wow, you're such a beautiful dancer. And I'm sitting here like, that's not her. Like, wait a second. That's not her in that video. Or another time so this is one time that I did confront her. She posted this video on Instagram and she tagged me, Harper, you're okay. She tagged me in, she's so sad. She
Oh,
tagged me in a lot of her posts for some reason. I don't really know why. But Harper, you're okay. So she tagged me in a post, so it notified me. And I opened the post, and it's a video of someone playing the piano and singing, and it's just a view of their hand. And I messaged her and said, is that you singing? It doesn't sound like you. And then immediately she deleted the whole post without a word, like said nothing, just deleted the whole thing. And I was like, that was really weird. And that was like right before the cancer announcement too. So like all of these things were kind of just like building up. But again, I still like fully believed she had cancer and wanted to support her. So um yeah. There's a lot now that I know were lies that I didn't know at the time. Um and it was really hard. I like initially I'm mostly over this now. I'm going to therapy, I'm working through it, but like when all of this first happened and it came out that she was lying, um I had a hard time like believing anything anyone was telling me. Even
mm,
like you gave the example of, oh, I saw this movie or oh, I did this fun thing over the weekend and my brain would be like,
right.
but did you?
I
Or are
know.
you just saying that? Like and it was so like that's so messed up. I shouldn't have to live like that. Like that's not healthy. That's not normal. So it's been a trip for sure.
I'm so sorry for you. I mean, that's certainly not your fault. um I think it's really, I mean, I don't want to call her a psychopath because You need to
It's
be
it's
diagnosed.
pretty messed up. It's up there.
There's a level of
Let me let my dog out really fast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, there's a certain amount of like antisocial something that has to go on when you lie to people and you don't worry about how it's going to affect them.
Yeah.
I just the relationships in our lives are fickle things, and if you don't consider the other party's feelings, it's just that's a deal breaker for me. And somebody lying to me about something that enormous would definitely mess with my sense of reality too.
Yeah. Yeah, and your sense of safety and like
Yes.
everything. It's affected every area of my life, and I wish that wasn't the case, but it is, and I'm working on it, you know.
I don't think that's
So,
no, I mean, especially for someone that close to you. I mean, because she looks like a normal person. She doesn't look like they don't
mhm.
have horns. People don't have like scales on their skin. They look like normal people.
And I think that's why she has been able to get away with this for so long, because
Yes.
she's a skinny white blonde girl, right?
Mm,
Um, Damien with the American Crime Journal made the comment like if she was any other race, she would have
mm,
been deported a long time ago. And that is so messed up, right? Like,
complete
um, excuse me, she's so dangerous. Get her out of here. Like, so
white,
yeah, that
rich,
made me really mad for a long time.
pretty white girls. Like they can get away with anything.
Yep, literally.
You can cut off someone's finger, your husband's finger, and get,
You can sell everyone the same diet plan, like Belle Gibson or there's so many. They're all these skinny, white, beautiful blonde girls, right? And they just
no.
everyone believes them. It's really sad.
It's so fucked up. I know. And yeah, it's messed up because like it's not to say that every because I think that you are absolutely beautiful, caring, lovely woman, but it's just like
I am a skinny, white, blonde girl.
you're like gorge. But like
Thanks.
it's like yeah, if that is like coupled with like really dangerous or potentially dangerous mental health conditions, it's really a recipe for some dangerous stuff. Um,
Absolutely.
tell me more about the GoFundMe. So they had it set up. Like how long before they set up the GoFundMe before she got a call from the detective?
So again, I think it was about a week. And
Mm,
so it raised almost $10,000 in a week, or I guess in 2 weeks technically, because the GoFundMe was still going while she was being investigated, and then they shut it down after she got arrested.
hmm.
So once she got arrested, the GoFundMe was taken down. It was all over the news the next day. Like it was national news. Newsweek did an article about it. Like it was everywhere that she got arrested. But what none of them mentioned was that she got released later that night. And so, like, she was only in jail for about 6 hours.
I see.
And that's what, like, everyone still is commenting on my things. Well, isn't she still in jail? Isn't she blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, no, she's not in jail. She is
Yeah,
out just living her life.
living her best
She does
life.
have a court date coming up, but, like, she's not in jail. She was in jail for 6 hours, and that was it.
Do you know what her bail was? I'm looking it up
I
now.
don't. Yeah, I don't, is that public information? Because I don't know what it was or like
That's a
how. I don't know how that worked. I just know that she was in jail. Everyone was freaking out, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then she was out. So, and I
good.
I never saw her in person after that.
We haven't.
Mm-mm. No, we had like a final phone conversation for about 15 minutes, and that was it. Haven't heard from her since.
How did that phone call go? I hope you
Uh,
like bitched her out. No, it. I don't hope anything. I have no expectations.
no, I wish I had been like harsher to her than I was. I was so scared. at that point.
Oh,
um,
sweet.
because what had happened was like a bunch of like her landlord had confronted her, and I guess she admitted like, yeah, I lied about cancer, but her landlord didn't tell us that. Her landlord was like, I talked to her and she's gonna call all of you individually and explain because you deserve that, right? And then she never did. She never called anyone. And so all of us were just sitting there like, you just got arrested, you got
Right.
released, and like what is going on? You need to explain. But she wouldn't give anyone a phone call. So finally I started texting her and being like, hey, you might blow off all these other people, but you're not doing that to me.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about this. And so we set up a phone call, and I recorded the whole thing so that I just felt like it's probably important for me to have a record of that at this point. I don't know what's going on. Um, and yeah, she admitted that she lied about having cancer, but that was the only truthful thing that she said to me in that conversation. Everything else she said was a lie.
Like what?
Well, she claims that the reason she faked cancer was because she had a plan to end her life and that it would be like less traumatic for her friends if she died from cancer instead of killing herself. I don't know. It makes no logical sense. Um,
Just do you see my face?
Especially when you consider like, okay, but you spent $13,000 in 2 weeks. That was a mental health crisis. Like, you're telling me that was like, what? What are you talking about? And I talked to another friend the other day who is still in contact with her, but is kind of like an undercover spy at this point and just like feeds me
Mm-hmm.
information. It's great. It's a great little setup.
I do
But
it too.
yeah.
I,
So
same
this
thing.
girl was like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Coco about her court date coming up, and she said, "Oh, it's so stupid. You know, all of the charges are going to be dropped once I explain that this was a mental health crisis. It's going to be fine." And I'm like,
Like I'm
"You
not
are
sure.
so dumb.
Like yeah,
You
I'm
are
not
so
sure
dumb."
your story is going to get you out of this. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah,
Like
I was like, and even when she said it to me, like, yeah, I was planning to kill myself, and that's why I faked having cancer. I was like, no, that's not what happened. I didn't say that, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I
and
know
it's
that's
like,
why you did
of
it.
course that's what you'd say because like it's like an excuse that's like gonna just garner sympathy for her, just like, oh, just more feeling
You're
sorry
like,
for her.
oh, that just makes everything okay then.
I know, like, yeah,
No,
I
it
know.
doesn't.
That's that's fun. So she spent $13,000 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and she continued. So she's spending all of this money from the GoFundMe and from personal Venmo transactions, and she gets arrested and then continues spending the money. That's what blows my mind the most is that she gets caught, she gets released, and she keeps spending the money. I just it makes me laugh so hard. Like, ma'am, what are you
hey,
doing?
she got bills to pay, you know?
I guess so. Yeah, that's not
Oh,
what she was spending it on, but sure.
do you know what she was buying?
Yes, I do. Because I
You
have her
do?
police report.
What did she get?
Um, okay, I'm trying to remember. Emmy can help me out if she's still here. Um, let's see. There was like Nordstrom. The day of her arrest, she spent $330 on professional hair products. She spent $100 at Chick-fil-A by herself, like on her raw vegan diet. She spent $500 at doTERRA, which is essential oils, after her arrest. She literally just went on a spending spree. Like, yeah, for her alternative cancer treatments, though. So Chick-fil-A, it's healing for the soul, I guess.
Bullshit raw vegan bullshit diet.
Oh yeah, Apple Store, $1,000 at the Apple Store, $200 at Ulta, Best Buy, like everything, whatever she felt like. And this is not Um, I don't know how much time they're going to spend on this in her trial, but it is mentioned in her police report because she used to do these survivor fundraisers. I think she did 3 of them. She did like a Mother's Day, a back to school, and a Christmas one. So that's from the past year, that she would say, hey, we're going to surprise a survivor with Christmas presents. So just Venmo me whatever donation you want, and I will pass it on to this survivor. And we have no proof that that money ever went anywhere. And I believe it went straight to her. And she has just been spending people's money for the past year.
I wouldn't doubt it. That's a pretty popular con that people who are like chronically ill do. I've seen a few like influencers do that. Like oh nope, just send the money straight to me.
I'll
That
take
way,
care of it.
weird like no paths get crossed and tech glitch issues. No, just send it to me. Um, that's really disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm just reeling that she bought Chick-fil-A. Do they Chick-fil-A have like vegetarian nuggets?
No.
Like $100 worth of like fries and salad and milkshake, but like
Like $100? I'm so confused. Like, was someone with her that day? Again, that's the day that she got arrested. And
maybe
she
she
went to Park City. So maybe she did meet, but it said DoorDash. So I don't know.
maybe she was feeling really bad and like just went on a binge, a Chick-fil-A
Maybe
binge.
maybe she was handing it out to homeless people. Maybe she's not all bad. I don't know.
But it's pot, I can't.
But she definitely would have posted about that if that were happening. But
I
I
think
think she
she
was
she
I think
wouldn't
she
have
was
let
dark on social media at that point.
no, she wouldn't let that good press go to waste.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, do you have any, after all of this happened, do you have any doubts about her like past claims, her trafficking claims?
Absolutely. And I was talking with a survivor yesterday morning about this, and she was just saying, like, this has been really hard on our community because we're like, well, now nobody's going to believe our stories. And that breaks my heart so bad. And so she asked me that same question, and I was like, yes, and here's why. It's not just the trafficking, right? When we look at Coco's story and her patterns as a whole, she has a problem with lying to get attention. She
Mhm.
cannot help herself. And so, because of that, like, I believe something horrible did happen to her in her past. I don't
Mhm.
think it was human trafficking, but I think something did happen that is kind of affecting this, but also she could choose to not be this way if she wanted to, right? Like we're all responsible for our own healing.
We
Um,
are.
and she's choosing not to. She's choosing to keep taking advantage of people. And so for that reason, just at her as a whole, I don't believe her trafficking claims. Um, if you are a survivor and are worried about people believing you, I still believe you, right? I like if you're not lying about other things currently and getting caught for them, like I don't know. I'm not saying that in the most eloquent way, but I hope that that makes sense. Like Coco has a history of lying, and that's what makes me not believe her.
Yeah.
So her, yeah, yeah.
You said that
I'm
very
sorry
well.
that she's taken advantage of all of us, and it breaks my heart the way that this has affected the survivor community because like they have nowhere else to go now, right? Like nowhere, nowhere. And it's awful. I hate it. I hate it. And what Emmy just commented, the things she lied about are also real things we went through, but she got them from our stories. So, yes, I've had so many survivors reach out to me and be like, yeah, I used to talk to Coco online. We were pretty close. We would chat all the time. And she would ask intimate details about my trafficking and abuse. And then shortly afterwards would start telling my story, passing it off as her own. So Coco was going around gathering all of these details from other survivors and then fabricating this whole story to make it so she had like the worst trafficking situation. And that's disgusting. So if you relate to Coco and her story, it's because she's telling your story. She gave really like pretty accurate information about human trafficking. she knew her stuff. She was very smart, very calculated about the way that she went about it, but like everything she shared was stolen from other people. And like that's even more disgusting than all of the money that she stole and spent. Like that, the emotional toll that that has on such an already vulnerable community is so heartbreaking and disgusting. I hate it so much.
It's evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I truly believe she is an evil person.
It's evil. Um, I do have to say thank you so much for sharing that. Because that's something that a lot of like pathological liars do is they gather as much information as possible from other survivors or people who have experienced similar trauma, and they pander it off as, which is super invalidating for the person who went through it, because it's like, oh well, now I can't share my story, or like, why is this making them famous, or why are they garnering sympathy and support and I'm just left with the pain. It's just
Yeah.
because the thing is that like with a lot of these stories with chronic illness and trafficking and trauma.
Sorry, you cut out. Can you still hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Oh, now I can. That was weird.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you. Sorry, I got, no, it's my phone. um
Oh no. uh Can you hear
can
me?
you hear me now?
Oh, oh, yes, there we go. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
My friend keeps calling, put my phone in airplane mode. But the thing, I had like a really good point. Hold on. The thing with chronic illness and trauma and trafficking, um, there is an enormous amount of shame involved. So it takes a lot of courage and a lot of like acceptance to get to the point where you are willing to share your story. And the fact that, I don't know, I think you always want to create space for people who are like, brave enough to do that. That's why it's like, oh, fuck yeah, you have chronic illness, you're dealing with it. Fuck yeah.
Right.
And that's what was, yeah, so powerful about Coco, because she was so frank and matter of fact about her stories and did not waver when she told them. Um, didn't have any shame about it. She's like, this is it, and I don't have anything to be embarrassed about. And she fucking didn't even, I don't know. If you're capable of some lying about something so profound, it definitely destroys your credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And
to
she
take
said that
advantage,
to me in our, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
She said that to me in our phone conversation. Like, I understand if this makes it harder for you to believe other things I've talked about. I'm happy to like set the record straight on any questions you have. And I was like, okay. And then she still lied about those things that I had questions about. And I didn't even go into the trafficking in that conversation. I was like, I do not want to get into that right now. I just asked questions about other smaller things that had happened in the past, like, okay, well, what about this person? What actually happened there? Or you talked about this. What's the deal with that? And she still lied. So she was like, yeah, I'm committing to telling the truth and making this right. No, she's not. She's just saying what people want to hear.
Yeah, she's just trying to save her image. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, like to lie about the fact that she said just a couple of the claims. I don't want to get too much into it, but like she said that she was forced to murder her brother by her parents. She said that she was forced to watch her stepfather murder her half sister and then was forced to stay in the room with her. And just for the record, in case you're just joining us, they're both alive. They're both fine.
Yeah.
And
Like
I
that.
think what else did she said that her mother was sending like a hitman to come and kill her at some
Here in
point.
the US, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She was going to be invited to America's Got Talent to be on their.
I remember that. Yep.
Did she tell you that?
I remember her like this was like at the start of our friendship, so we weren't super close, but I think she had like posted something about it. Like I said earlier, she had like different versions of all of these stories that she would tell to different people. And so then
Mm.
once it started to get more public, she had to come up with a, okay, then this is the real story because other people had heard different things, right? But she would even tell like weird stuff about Celine Dion. She was obsessed with Celine Dion, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
she told she never told me this because I am a singer professionally. I am a performer. She knows that I wouldn't believe it, so she didn't tell me that. But she told other people at the same time that I was friends with her that she was friends with Celine Dion and that they would text all the time and that all this stuff and that Celine Dion had invited her to come on stage and sing with her and stuff. That did not happen. Like, oh my gosh. So she definitely like I said was a different person to each person who knew her, and she would feed them different stories based on what she felt like they would believe. And sometimes those would get mixed up. But it was also weird because she was very good at keeping each person in her life separate. Like none of us really talked to each other, none of us knew each other or hung out. Like if we saw each other, it was because Coco was there like for her birthday party or something. But like we never so that's kind of how she was able to keep everything straight. And then also she was very good at just completely cutting people from her life and moving on. And then they're like, well, I don't know anyone else she knows. Who am I supposed to warn about her?
That's
Super weird. Super weird.
burning bridges is really common with BPD. Like getting really, really close and intense with somebody and then just never seeing them ever again. I've known a few people
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Um,
crazy.
so people on GoFundMe were refunded, but direct Venmo payments. I would say, do you have anything to say to people who donate? Or do you have any what what advice can you offer to people who have been affected by Coco's story?
Hmm. Um,
Because she preyed on a lot of people's kind nature. She
yeah.
created community for people, and now it's not there anymore.
I guess I want to say that your kindness is not a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like when all of this blew up, I struggled really hard. I felt like an idiot. I felt so ashamed that I had been taken advantage of in this way and that there were so many things that were so obvious and that I ignored because I was trying to be a good person and a good friend. And that will never, ever be a weakness. Um, yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing is like, that's not a weakness. That's a strength. And nobody's going to think that you're an idiot because you were kind to someone who you felt like needed it.
No, and um, yeah, it's definitely not your fault, and I don't think it invalidates anybody. Um, people like Coco was she accomplished a lot. That's the thing. She's a very
Yeah.
and it's really unfortunate that this is the route she decided to go down. Because she had a job, right?
Yeah, kind of. It was like all over the place. I think because she's here on a student visa,
Mm-hmm.
that complicates things. Like she can't work more than 20 something hours a week and stuff like that. And so I know that financial stuff was a stressor in her life. And I think that she just created this world, this image in her head where she was this like influential, rich person that everyone looked up to. And she had a lot of nice things and stuff. And so, like, basically, she said, like, that's what I want. I'm going to get that no matter what it takes. Which is admirable in a lot of ways, right? But also, like, you could do that without hurting people.
I guess she
So,
does not mind how many necks she had to step on to get there.
not at all. Not at all. She
Yeah,
acts very remorseful, but she's deep down, she's actually not because
no,
apologies without changed behavior is
exactly.
manipulation.
Yep, a thousand
And
percent.
she's not changing her behavior. She tells you she's going to, and then she keeps doing the exact same thing she's always been doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, I know a few people like that. I just, yeah, you have at some point just have to stop talking to them. Um, so Coco now, you said she's just out living her best life, right? Do you know where she is now?
Yeah, she moved out of that apartment that's close to me, which is nice. So
Yeah.
she lives like 20 minutes north of me now. I know what city she lives in. Last I heard she has an apartment. She has roommates. Last I heard she was still working. I don't know how. I don't know what her boss is thinking because he's aware of everything, but he's an interesting guy. Um, but again, like I don't that's old information. I haven't heard anything recently. But she does have a court date coming up, June 8th. That's very soon.
That is very,
So hopefully this will all be wrapped up and put to rest soon because it's been exhausting. It's taken up my entire year. Like the year's almost halfway over, and this has been my life. And I'm like, cool, thanks for that.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that this has affected you so much. Um, what an exhausting and unique person this is.
Yeah.
Really quick, um, I'll let you go, but before we go, do you know anything about her mother? Like her parents have her family spoken out about this at all?
Yes, her mom actually has. So her mom is still living in Germany. And
Mm,
so someone was commenting earlier about the video that Lynn Packer did. It's on YouTube. It's called the Coco Berthmann hoax, I think, and that came out last summer. And he just does a very thorough job of like going through all of her trafficking claims. And he actually spoke to her mom, spoke to a lot of people who lived with her. Just a little bit of a trigger warning for that video, especially if you are a survivor. He definitely could have presented the information in a more trauma sensitive way. But it
I
is
yes,
very good information.
very matter of fact.
Um, yes, so I know that Lynn Packer contacted her mom when putting that together and asked her some questions. And Coco actually gave a TED talk last year, at the beginning of last year. It has since been taken down. You can't watch it anymore. But her mom emailed them and said, "Hey, she's lying. Please, please don't let her give this TED talk. Please, I'm begging you." And the weird thing is that when you give a TED talk, they have like a whole system to fact check the things that you're talking about. And with Coco, they just threw all of that out the door. Like they didn't even try. Even when her mom contacted them, they didn't even try. Um, so that's really weird. The day after Coco got arrested, her mom actually texted her. I don't know how she got her number, but she sent me a screenshot of it. Her mom texted her, and it was in German, saying like, "Hey, I heard you got arrested. Do you need money? Do you need help? Like, what do you need?" Her mom's still wanting to help her even after everything Coco has put them through. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I know about her mom. But yeah, I mean, she definitely didn't have a perfect childhood. I'm sure her mom made mistakes. All parents do. I don't know to what extent anything was, but I definitely don't think it was human trafficking. So, but those are just my thoughts.
I mean, gosh, that's really sad.
It is.
I have two kids, and I just like if one of my kids was grown up and promoting a story that these horrible things happened in her childhood, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's pretty mind bending. It's mind boggling. Um, so let's see. I wanted to ask one more thing. This girl, dude.
Yeah. She's a piece of work.
Oh my God, I can't believe that about the TED Talk. It's because she's a pretty white girl. That's why she
Yeah.
got away.
Like, they have a whole system in place and they didn't use it for her for some reason. Like they didn't even try.
Like, how in
And
the
they had
world?
the opportunity to. Yeah, blows my mind.
It's amazing what you can get away with if you look a certain way and if the story is that compelling.
Right. And that's also not the only time that like her story had been promoted and then taken down off the internet because
Really?
later elements of it were found to not be true. Yeah. It happened again in I think before I met her in 2019, there was a web article that they interviewed her and stuff, and then it's since been taken down because they found out, oh, some things in this are not true. Um, so yeah, it's not the only time that that happened either.
Emmy, what kind of organizations did she have behind her?
Coco worked publicly with a lot of anti-human trafficking organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them would back her story and, because she's like one of the only survivors who's talking about it publicly. And so, but ever since her arrest, they've all been silent. And like I understand why. I can see from their perspective, like we are running a nonprofit, this organization dealing with really highly sensitive topics. We're not going to say anything, maybe ever, because we don't want to give it more attention, but also until things are completely proven, right? Because she hasn't been convicted. So, like, I understand. But also, if your whole platform is helping survivors, making them feel safe, and this situation that they all are aware of is making them feel unsafe and you are silent on it, like, I just feel like you should be doing what's best for the survivors, right? Like, say
I agree.
something.
I
So
agree.
I don't know. That's a really tricky situation. But again, I think if you're there for survivors, you should do what's best for survivors and not for
I
yourself.
I agree. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Um, and I'm sure that they're upset that they didn't do their due diligence, but at the same time, it is such a compelling story. And
Well, and again, it's like they supported us, like they showed, like, we believe
yeah,
you, we want to help you. And so it's like, it's messy. It's so tricky. I was discussing this with my husband yesterday. Like, what is the solution? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
it's crazy how many parallels there are in the Amber Heard case. There are so many.
Yeah,
Like, it's crazy because I've had so many conversations about people with about Amber Heard, and I've talked to a few people about Coco Berthmann, and I'm like, there's so many interlaps. Like, there's just so many things that I'm finding
yeah,
myself. I think that's why everybody's so taken with it. It's such a profound lie. And I
yeah.
mean, Amber Heard took advantage of the Me Too movement. Like, you want to believe survivors. Of
Right.
course that.
And that's
And
great.
now it's just another hit to women. Like,
Yeah,
it's been
yeah.
very
It's
bad
like
for women.
there is no positive outcome
There is
from
not.
this. There's no positive outcome from the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation. Like it's just garbage. It's all garbage.
It is. I cannot. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Like, I really feel like so nihilistic lately because it's just like it has just not been these past few weeks have just been so many hits to women. The Amber Heard stuff and the Roe v. Wade stuff. And what else is there? There's something else that was incredibly big for women that is not good.
Oh no, I can't remember.
I don't either.
Just
Everything.
everything sucks.
Just everything's the worst.
Yeah,
It
pretty much.
could be it could be worse, but those are definitely not great things.
It's just heavy. The world is so heavy right now for all
Is
of us. Like there's
it,
just so much.
you ain't lying. So again, I guess we can wrap it up there. Coco Berthmann. So again, um, so we were talking about Coco Berthmann. I just did a story about her on my page. My handle is Ray Review, where I do lots of stories about people who a lot of fraud, some true crime, um, like Munchausen syndrome, because I think they're really fascinating, and I think evil is a spectrum, and I think that those fall on them. Amanda, can you please tell us a little bit about you and your platforms?
Yeah. So, here on TikTok, obviously lately I've been talking a lot about Coco Berthmann, just because I needed an outlet to share my story. So I share a lot about that, but I'm also an energy healer, hence why my username is Energy Healing with Amanda. So I do Reiki and emotion code. I do a lot of like inner child healing. So my Instagram is at Amanda Frisbee Energy Healing, and we just talk a lot about mental health and taking responsibility for your healing. I talk a lot about black and white thinking. So feel free to go check me out on those platforms. And yeah, that's me. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
It was amazing. I just love it. So, what's your Instagram handle again?
At Amanda Frisbee Energy Healing, Frisby.
I was going to ask how you spell frisbee. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I can message it to you so you can add it to the thing.
I'm going to add you and I will stalk.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. But please go follow her. She is lovely and just light and beautiful and wonderful and has so many great insights to just healing and choosing lightness in this very, very dark world of ours. It's
Yeah.
can be really tough to navigate and you need a flashlight sometimes. So please go follow her. And also, um, shameless self promotion, really quick. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I have like no followers, but like, let's be friends. Add me. And I just started a YouTube channel. I usually do like two parts of my stories because I'm a very slow talker. I've had many people criticize me for how slow I talk. I am laying the tracks, okay, for a good story. That's what I'm trying to do. Laying
Proud of you.
and so I compile all of them and they're on my YouTube now. So please feel free to subscribe and you can listen to my really beautiful voice that way. Um, yeah, Amanda, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And I'm going to post this interview as well on YouTube so you can watch it again if you were inclined. Otherwise, thank you for watching. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Bye.
Bye.